SJ. Welcome to Mvskoke Radio, your weekly source for tribal and community news, interesting guests and discussions, plus a local events calendar. SJ, Stone Go, Gary Fife, Jahu Jifkidos, Mvskoke Radio, Mabo Hedged. Welcome to our program. We are here on a weekly basis here. For the next hour, we're going to be sharing some interesting information. First up, we're going to be talking to the folks from our Behavioral Health Department, and our reporter, Morgan Taylor, is going to handle that interview. And then a couple of recorded pieces. We had a chance to speak with Cherokee actor Wes Studi. He's working on a couple of PSA series for the Center for Disease and the COVID-19 program. The idea is to get the word out, and he's lending his talents to doing that. We'll find out what he's been up to also, which hasn't been much because most of us have been kind of saddled with nothing going on while the virus is here. And then we had the demonstration here on the Tribal Complex on Monday morning. We've got a little sound and some comments from there. But first of all, let's get started, and let me turn this over to Morgan, and she's going to be off and running there.
Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good day. We're here with some of our behavioral health staff. If you guys don't mind, just one at a time, introducing yourself and your titles.
Yes, my name is Rush Williams, and I am the MSPI Project Director, and thank you for having us on.
Yeah, my name is Tyler Stone. I am the Project Director for the Native Connections Grant. We focus primarily on substance abuse and suicide prevention for Native youth ages 10 to 24, and Rush and I both work for Mvskoke Creek Nation Behavioral Health Department.
Awesome. So you guys have been doing some things virtually for our citizens and for our employees and stuff. Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about some of that, Rush, what you have had going on?
Yes, throughout June, we have been doing the morning coffee breaks. What that is a 30-minute interactive discussion. So it's basically just a place where employees or citizens or whoever wants to join can come in and not only just kind of hear about different topics such as stress and balance and joy, but also to give a few helpful things of what might help them throughout their day and throughout this time of social distancing. And that's pretty much what we're also going to expand into July. Some of our upcoming topics are going to be around healthy communication. It's also going to be about talking with youth. It's also going to be even overthinking and anxiety and a few different mental health topics as well. So that's kind of what we have planned for July on that.
Okay, so you are extending it into July. That's awesome. How can somebody get on and watch?
So they can actually access it through GoToMeeting. We have a subscription where people can log on, and then they can actually even call in too, and we'll get that information out on a flyer pretty soon. And we already have one for June, but we'll go ahead and release all the July ones as well. And with that too, everybody is welcome, and we really encourage everyone to get on there to share their webcam so we can see each other and just kind of have a conversation, because that's how we truly feel that we can stay connected during this time.
Yeah, and I think that our YouTube channel also streams it if anybody wanted to watch it. So how has that been going? Have you received a lot of feedback? Have you received a lot of people tuning in? How's it been going?
So each week we've had anywhere between 15 and 35 people, and usually at the end of the presentation, there is always a lot of comments saying, "Thank you for this. It really is a good morning motivator. It really helps me feel connected." And that's the overall goal of it, is just to try to connect with people and just to talk with people.
Have you had any special guests with special topics?
Yes. So what I'm doing is I'm actually inviting different coworkers. So some of them are clinicians at behavioral health. Tyler here he has a master's in social work, and so we're even trying to find just different people who have different types of knowledge, different types of experience, and also just people who are willing to share kind of even some of their own stories as well.
Awesome. So that's on Tuesday mornings at 9 o'clock, correct?
Yes.
So Tyler, do you want to kind of talk about the Webinar Wednesdays?
Yeah, so Webinar Wednesdays is a weekly webinar series that we're doing at Behavioral Health. This came about because we had planned for a few different conferences this year. We had the addictions conference we were going to do originally in March, and then we pushed that back to a later time, and we were also going to have a trauma conference as well. That was going to be sometime in June. So this year is just flying by. We still wanted to get that information out to community members and to professionals that are in the community. So we've taken the route that really everyone's taking, which is virtual. So we contacted a lot of the same speakers that we had lined out for these conferences and just asked them, hey, would you like to do this 90-minute presentation via Zoom? So we've been doing that. And we've had some really good discussions. We've had topics around finding hope through difficult times. That was the one that we started off with, which was presented by a gentleman named Elliot Connie, who we've been working with for the past couple years, and he's awesome. He's kind of the master in this really cool therapeutic modality called solution-focused therapy. So it's all about, finding those solutions in that therapy session. And we thought it would be awesome for him to talk about hope, because in 2020, I think we all kind of had hopes that this was going to be this was going to be our year, right? Kind of starting fresh, kind of how we do every year. And then we were hit with a lot of adversity this year. So it's been really tough, right? So having him start off with talking about hope and finding hope even through this pandemic and some of the social issues that are happening. There's crucial elections coming up this year as well. So it's been kind of just a heavy year. So having somebody who is solution focused, in that, I think was a really great way to start off with our Webinar Wednesdays. We also had a gentleman who just talked about overall wellness, which I think is really awesome. And it kind of ties into what kind of our goal is, I think, with the coffee breaks as well. We talk a lot about wellness. We don't just talk about physical wellness either, because a lot of times when we say, are you staying healthy? A lot of people associate that with physical wellness. So are you running, 3 miles a day? Are you drinking 2 gallons of water a day? Are you eating clean? What diet are you on? So we look at wellness that way, right?
I know I'm not doing that.
Right. I'm not either, at least on the water stuff.
Yeah.
So but we tend to forget those other dimensions of health, right? There's physical health, which is very important, which has a huge impact on the rest of our health, but there's also mental health, there's emotional health, there's spiritual health. So we had a speaker that kind of talked about all those different forms of health and like how can you increase in your health and your wellness in those areas. So that was pretty great. And last week I actually co-presented with one of our partners. His name is Sprint Williams. He's over tobacco prevention, and him and I spoke about vaping. So we talked a lot about kind of the misinformation that people get around vaping, that it's kind of a safe alternative to cigarettes. And from what little data we do have, we know that it's not as healthy as it was kind of marketed to be.
I think that's good, because I think it's really targeted towards young people.
It definitely is, and we definitely address that in our presentation. When you look at ads, they're typically younger adults, and there's definitely a focus on how do we get youth to get addicted to something, especially when the brain is very susceptible to getting addicted. Mm-hmm. How do we get them hooked on our product so they are vaping or smoking for a longer period of time, which ultimately means more money for big tobacco.
So what are some of the other topics that you've done in your Webinar Wednesdays?
That was kind of all of the ones we've had so far.
Mm-hmm.
We've had 4 so far, and today's going to be our 5th Webinar Wednesday, and we're actually going to be talking about historical trauma.
Wow, I think that would be a really good topic.
Yeah, we're really excited about that. we get a lot of feedback when we do presentations because we talk a lot about trauma, especially when we're focusing on substance abuse or mental health. A lot of it ties back to trauma. So we have a gentleman who's going to be speaking to us who's worked a lot in the field of historical trauma. So I'm really excited to hear about some of the research that he has and what he's found working in this realm. And some of the upcoming topics we're going to have, we're actually going to take a week off next week. It's a holiday. So we're going to take a week off from that on July 1st. But when we return, we're going to have somebody who's going to talk a lot more about like adolescence and how to work with, the youth.
I have a question.
Sure, absolutely.
For those who might not know, could you kind of reiterate what historical trauma might mean and how that how it affects us?
Sure.
Yeah.
So historical trauma, in kind of its most basic form, is this idea that trauma that was inflicted upon people, so let's say our ancestors, so let's say those who were impacted by the Trail of Tears, right? That trauma was really embedded in that DNA of our people, of Native Americans. So we're seeing that when that trauma is embedded into the DNA, we can actually see a lot of people, grandkids, great-grandkids, great-great-grandkids, have some of that trauma still embedded into that DNA. And it's really fascinating. I know one of the research studies that I saw was they worked on rats. And what they did was they had a mother rat, and they would introduce this mother rat to a cherry blossom. And every time that they smelled the cherry blossom, they would shock the rat. And they kept doing this and kept doing this. And then that mother rat had a baby rat, and they had introduced the smell of a cherry blossom to the baby rat, and the baby rat would flinch, kind of like as it was anticipating a shock.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Are you guys going to show this on your webinar today?
I don't know if he shows this,
But talk about it maybe?
I haven't read his presentation yet. He
Yeah.
just sent it to me this morning, so I didn't get a chance to really look at it. I kind of wanted to go in not knowing what he was going to talk about, so it's
Right.
more like fresh for me. I didn't want to spoil it for myself, I guess.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure exactly to what extent he's going to talk about maybe that one, but I know just from my research and the studies that I did whenever I was going through grad school, I read an article about that, and it was really fascinating. So when they did that study, they thought, well, there's been a lot of people who, a lot of cultures and a lot of races of people who have been impacted on a huge scale and had a lot of trauma.
Oh, yeah.
So this makes a lot of sense that trauma has just been passed down from generation to generation because it's kind of embedded into that DNA.
Right. So how can somebody tune in today?
Today you probably wouldn't have. We actually cut the registration off Tuesdays at 5 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Just so it gives us enough time to make sure we send out all of the Zoom links to everyone. But there's a couple of different ways that you can access the flyer. If you check the Mvskoke Creek Nation main Facebook page, they've been posting it on there for us about every Monday, every Tuesday, so people can go on there and see the flyer. And what you do is you click on that, and you'll have to create an account through that flyer's website. And then you'll get access, when you register for that, you'll get access to the Zoom link. That way you can view the webinars. Also, the Mvskoke Creek Nation Department of Health Facebook page will post it as well.
So following the Facebook pages is a way to get really good updates or whatever.
That's one of the best ways. We tend to utilize that platform because I have so many followers, and a lot of people can see that on their Facebook wall. But if you don't have Facebook or you don't want to mess with Facebook, I'm more than happy to give out my email. And if people want to email me, I can send them the flyer directly.
All right. What's that email, Tyler?
That email is Tyler, that's Tyler.stone, STONE, at creekhealth.org.
All right. Well, I think we just have a couple minutes. Is there anything you guys would like to add? Any events coming up?
So I just wanted to share, and obviously our webinar Wednesdays, it's pretty heavy topics, and it's also, an hour and a half, which is great material, and it's a great time. But that's also why we wanted to do the morning coffee breaks. So it's a shorter 30-minute presentation, and usually what we try to do with the morning coffee breaks is we kind of try to keep it a light topic. We also try to just kind of encourage people to take care of themselves throughout the day, throughout the week. And then also to, just to provide them with an interactive discussion as well, especially during this time of kind of being away from each other, being away from their coworkers. We just wanted it to be a chance for everyone to come in and to be able to share, and also to kind of share their story, because we're all kind of going through this together.
All right. And what's y'all's office's number if anybody has questions?
Our main office phone number is 918-758-1910.
All right. I think that's good, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. We're going to take a short pause here, and then we're going to be back with our interview with Wes Studi. So please stay with us here on Mvskoke Radio, here on The Brew.
I started doing it when I was 11. I wanted to be just like my big brother. And some of my friends were already doing it. We got hooked fast. I just can't get enough. I'm Jacob, and I'm addicted to playing the drums.
There's lots of stuff that makes it cool to be Native. Doing meth isn't one of them. Find something better to do. Check out ncai.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Hear that? That's the sound of hope being killed by meth. Methamphetamine use is causing huge problems in our community. Hear that? That's the sound of something you can do about it. Events like rodeo, res ball, and family time can help keep kids away from meth.
Talk to your kids. Keep our culture alive. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Learn more at ncai.org.
Okay, as we said before the break, we had a chance to catch Wes Studi, the famous Cherokee actor, and talk to him a little bit about his latest project, his lack of projects, and a couple of thoughts he's seen on contemporary society right now. So this is our good friend Wes Studi.
I have been working with the partnership for a year or more as kind of a spokesman.
All right, now that's not a name that I'm familiar with. Tell me a bit about the partnership with Native Americans.
Partnership with Native Americans is essentially been in the business of helping tribes and or individuals within tribes for a number of years, as far as really like subsistence existence, really. They help in all kinds of particular ways that housing, travel, just every kind of social need that you can imagine. They try to address, especially in times of like the floods up in the Dakotas last couple of years, and as well as other catastrophes that happen. They like to help, or they're capable of helping in times of emergency, as well as other social needs that happen to arise at any given time. It's a good organization, I think, and I've been working with them, like I say, for at least a year or more.
How is it that this group now is working to help out Native people who are having to deal with COVID-19 across the nation?
Well, it addresses the immediate needs, whatever that may be in terms of like PPEs or just help in terms of dealing with with the pandemic. What more can I say?
No, that's fine. It's wonderful to see so many people responding to the crisis. Now, as someone who's worked with this particular group, what was it that developed that got you into producing these PSAs? How did those come about?
Which PSAs are you talking about?
The COVID-19 PSAs?
Yes. Well, like I said, I did some for the CDC, you know who they are, and as well as the partnership. And the partnership, what we're doing there is raising money to be able to use in helping tribes and individuals to deal with the pandemic, as well as, you know, the recommendations for the CDC in terms of wearing masks and distancing, and hopefully being able to, do what is recommended by the, the CDC recommendations and all.
Now, you mentioned the CDC, and I just pulled up the article again and saw that particular notice. What was it that you produced for CDC?
The guidelines, the business about the face masks and the distancing, if at all possible, and, other requirements that are put out by local, regional authorities about how to go about the curfews and, just going along with the requirements that they put out. Those were the CDC PSAs, and they got a extremely good run of respondents and all, as I understand.
That's wonderful. Have you been able to keep up with how the COVID-19 has been striking Native America? We hear a lot about the Navajos being particularly hard hit, but can you maybe share with us how you've been able to keep up with the crisis?
I haven't been able to keep up with it, and I don't know who has, to tell the truth. I know because I live in Santa Fe, very near the Navajo reservation, so I know how it's affecting the Pueblos in this particular area. But otherwise, like Indian country and other media outlets, I'm able to keep up with to a certain extent. I don't really know how badly it's affecting tribes in eastern Oklahoma or in Oklahoma itself, because there's not a lot of press about that. But otherwise, I am more aware of what is immediately around me, what's happening here.
Okay, well, from what I've been able to follow in the online media, which is developed quite well, and some print media, that Native Americans are kind of stepping up and taking on the problem a lot themselves with the federal monies and some tribal resources. Navajo has taken on some very strong restrictions in how it deals with the public. That's all very enlightening. That makes my heart feel good to see our own people taking on these problems. How does it strike you?
Well, I'm unaware of how much federal money is actually reaching Navajo Nation, for one, as well as the Pueblos in the area. I don't know, how well the federal government responded, other than not very well, because they were holding up funds for a long time and may still be, for all I know. But yes, I think the tribes have used their own resources as well as resources like the partnership and others, like the Navajo Relief Fund, the Pueblo Relief Fund. They've all been very active in providing it in terms of either money, financial, help, or in terms of providing masks and PPE, and likewise. But like I say, I'm kind of restricted in terms of region because this is where I get all my news is about what's happening here through the media or online media. And most of it has to do with the Southwest.
The impact on Native American economies has been pretty hard. Many casinos and tribal complexes have been closed down, or severely altered their routines in order to deal with the crisis. Our tribe here kind of closed down for a while, and we still have restrictions on tests and masks and things like that. We understand that's happened to many tribes around the nation and to many Native people. Now, you're in an industry that has to have a lot of connections with public and each other and things like this. How has the COVID-19 affected your routines?
Well, my routines have been totally shut down. We're not working. We're restricted from working, and personally, it's becoming more like hard times in that have no income. But it's a matter of everyone doing it on an individual basis, I guess. It's just it's financially a hard time for people right now. So, yeah, other than that, I don't know how to respond to your question.
No, that was just fine. It seemed like Indians are kind of used to that situation financially, so,
well, yeah.
Now, as the country begins to bounce back somewhat, it's beginning to open up. Things are, as the government is telling us, are getting better, but a lot of people have their doubts and things like this. So,
well, I would be people that have doubts. I think it's it's kind of foolhardy to believe that absolutely nothing is going wrong and to go on with having rallies and carrying on with large gatherings like that is absolutely premature, and I think it's reckless and foolhardy to be telling people that it's all over with now. It's simply not proven by scientific sources, and it's something I think that is premature.
I think we're about to find out here in Tulsa with the president coming to do one of his campaign rallies on Saturday. The city has got its doubts. The health people are saying, no, it's a bad idea, but then the administration is saying, well, come on in, and if you get sick, it's your own problem, essentially. So you're saying it's a bad idea?
I think it's a totally bad idea to be having a rally, and especially in Tulsa where you hear that cases are spiking, and the reopening of all that's been pursued by the governor there, I think is not taking into account its citizens. He's not taking care of you people over there, is all I'd say.
The area around Santa Fe has always been known for its arts and crafts festivals and gatherings of people there. And, of course, some major powwows were coming up soon. all of this activity seems to be shutting down as a result of the COVID-19 crisis facing us. Is that the case there with Santa Fe? Is it canceling festivals and things like that you know of?
Oh yeah, everything is being canceled here. We have a governor that I think is more on top of things in terms of dealing with the pandemic than in other states that have been opening up and inviting large gatherings, as we've seen that has happened in Oklahoma. Well, and then there are the states of Florida, Arizona, and California that, as well as others, that I think are going to regret having done the measures they have been implemented. Yeah, it's not a rosy outlook. I'll say that.
What about your own personal outlook? Are there projects on your horizon that may or may not be affected one way or the other?
I have a very dim outlook on anything actually happening. I mean, whether we have a horizon or not is something up to conjecture. It's just I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I mean, I lost out on at least two pictures that were to be done throughout the summer, and maybe they'll be done as months go by, but that seems doubtful with the current development of spikes and the how the COVID-19 seems to be progressing more than we as individuals are.
All right, let me ask you a question about some of the recognition that you've got. You've got the honorary Academy Award there. Has that changed things for you? Are more people knocking on your door, or perhaps?
Well, normally, Gary, I think that would have happened were it not for the COVID entering the scene. But like I say, I was supposed to start work in March at about the same time as the shutdowns started, and then had scheduled another picture starting in May, perhaps there in Oklahoma, and other projects that were looming, but have been totally shut down. Like I say, it's I really can't speak to the future as far as mine is concerned at this point.
All right.
But like I say, the Oscar did me some good in terms of recognition and more phone calls about more projects, but no projects are happening.
Well, we understand that. It did do us some good seeing you up there, and you made us so proud that Hollywood finally kind of opened its eyes to the abilities and skills of Native actors. Do you think maybe that'll change things a bit more as the filmmakers start taking Native people a little more seriously?
Well, I'm certainly hopeful of that. I'm hopeful of that. Yeah, I think that I think the Academy, as well as film producers and productions, will take into account that yes, we have recognizable people in the industry, and that we as Native Americans will begin to find more work in the industry. That's always been the goal.
Some of these films that have been worked in production lately more closely follow our history here, the thing that comes to mind is the film about the Osage oil murders. What is it? The Killers of the Harvest Moon? Is that right? And they shot it here in Oklahoma, and and incorporated a lot of Osage and local native people. That's a wonderful direction to see filmmaking industry take. Now, does it do anything for you? I mean, personally, does it make you feel a lot better to see them taking this direction?
Well, I think the book itself stirred up, interest and interest to the point that, studios began to think that, yes, this could be a money-making film, as well as, being able to get the story out about what transpired between corporations and like you say, the Osage, that particular story, which is, I think, about Killers of the Flower Moon. Of course, it makes me happy to know that, that we are part of the subject matter as Native Americans. That could usually result in work for Native actors. So it's a positive step, yes, of course.
Yeah, and by the way, thank you for the correction there, Killers of the Flower Moon. Yeah, I was thinking of it as something else. Wes, now, I know your time is really valuable. So we can wrap this up, but is there a thought you might want to leave with our listeners, perhaps about the viral epidemic, or kind of hanging in there and surviving?
Well, yeah, I think that this pandemic is kind of an eye-opener in terms of how we will continue to live on this planet together. I think hopefully it's going to bring about change in terms of how we deal with our Mother Earth, for one, and how we deal with one another in terms of helping each other out in times of desperation like this. I call it desperation. I see that, government circles, administrative circles, if you will, and I'm talking about the presidency, that how they deal with it, it seems to be something they just simply want to sweep under the rug, and people are dying at a rate much more much larger than is a normal process. I think that hopefully it's going to help us come out of the pandemic in a better world in terms of how we deal with each other and our environment.
Has this pandemic got you wearing a mask and keeping social distance?
Oh yeah, heck yeah! I mean, I'm doing all that stuff. It's a matter of us coming together to do this because we respect one another's health, if you will. I mean, I'll wear a mask so you won't get it, and you wear a mask so I won't get it. It's a matter, like I say, of looking out for one another. It's something I think that we as a population need to figure into our way of life. Again, I really don't agree with that rally. I would simply add that I think that we really need to take a serious look at Black Lives Matter and that particular issue as well, and especially for Tulsa, Oklahoma at this point in time.
Right. Now that you bring that up, have you been able to take part in anything supporting that activity?
As much as possible, yes. As much as possible while, adhering to COVID-19 requirements.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, we'll end this call and say thank you and get out of your way. Hope that at some point you'll be wandering around our neck of the woods and stop by and say hi.
I hope so, too. You take care, Garrett.
Okay, Mado. Cherokee actor Wes Studi, who is famous for his work in Dances with Wolves, Avatar, Heat, and other films like Geronimo, which portrayed Native American people in such an authentic way. We'll take another short break and be back with some sounds from the demonstration that took place this past week.
Who am I? Am I Native? I don't want people assuming things because I'm Indian. I just want to be me. But how do I live in two worlds? Some guys just check out by doing meth. But that ain't for me. Because I see my family, my friends, my drum making, my future. There are a lot of cool things about being who I am. And meth isn't one of them.
Learn more at ncai.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians. Who am I? Am I Indian? Just 'cause I'm a girl from the res, don't make things up about me. What if I move away? Then who am I? Some kids try meth just to escape. But then I think about my grandma, my little brother, my beadwork, my poetry. And I think, I like who I am. And I know meth is not for me.
Check out ncai.org, a message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
This past Monday morning, there was a demonstration at the tribal headquarters for people who are expressing their thoughts and feelings about the distribution of the COVID resource monies, some tribal activities and things like this. And we took our mics out there to get a feel for what was going on. And what we have here is some sounds and an interview, the things that went on during that particular demonstration. So please stay with us here.
COVID-19, the virus in itself has affected three top minority groups. They are African Americans, Native Americans, and Hispanics. On March 27th, the federal government passed the CARES Act, providing $8 billion to tribal leaders and their citizens for COVID-19 relief. Okay. We were awarded the second largest amount out of that at $282.2 million. Of that, they allotted $60 million of it to its citizens for two different hardship programs. One of them, they allotted 24,000 citizens a payment of $1,500 if they qualify. Another was a one-time $150 payment to be issued out to 60,000 citizens for a one-time payment if they qualified. Okay, so basically saying that the citizens of the nation who are suffering the most, who are awarded that relief payment from the federal government, are only allowed and worth $150. That is not even enough to buy groceries for the week with the rising cost of goods, meat, prices, all that. What did they really expect that to relieve us for? You understand? That is what I'm here. I'm here for relief for my fellow citizens, for my elders, and for the future generations to come to know that we are not going to be silent on issues that concern us any longer.
Things work out in your favor today. What would you like to see happen?
I would like to see every citizen receive a $1,000 or more payment because they receive those funds for our citizens. I would also like to see a stimulus package set up for our elders where they are able to receive a payment every month until December that aids them with the rising cost of goods and utilities or whatever deemed that they need help with.
Now, we're seeing lots of light horse out here today. Have you got some thoughts about them being here?
I like their presence here so that it doesn't turn into a violent protest. We are here for a peaceful protest. We just want our voices heard, to let them know that we are suffering and we're not going to stand around and let them keep us oppressed any longer. We are not the citizens of the past. We are the citizens of 2020. And when we feel cheated and we feel unjustified, we will protest and let you know we are here listening and watching.
When we feel left out. I'm full-blood Cree, you know.
I'm half. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to welcome Chief Hill out here, and he's going to say a few things, and he could probably answer some of the questions that y'all may have concerning the budgets on this act, NCA, what was it? 030. So, without further ado, here's Chief Hill, and we thank him, Mado, for coming out.
Thank you for taking time to hear us.
How's everybody doing?
Good. Better you're here.
Well, I apologize took it late. I had a cabinet meeting and had 2 other meetings, but we tried to get out here as soon as we could. I know there's a lot. I'm sorry. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
A little bit closer.
As you know, we had certain guidelines. There's four columns that we had to send in. I don't know if you're aware of it, but we had to send in our enrollment, expenses from last year, land base, and employees. We had to turn all those information in within probably a week and a half. And once we received it, I had to make sure, because we had 3 payments. Knowing the government, I wanted to make sure that's what we received. We had 3 different payments of, I want to say it's $93 million. Just to make sure, I called the other tribal leaders, and another tribal leader had 4 different payments. So there was one to make sure before we get called from the government, and it took 2 of them back. So once that was confirmed, I did form a team to review this, see what's the best way, staying within the guidelines that they sent us. And I'm sorry. Well, there's a lot that came into this. As you know, the casino was shut down 2.5 months, and that's where we generate a lot of revenue from on our other program. That isn't on that one. Now, we did the flood. Now, we did file a lawsuit on the insurance. Still haven't heard anything. Our Attorney General did do that, along with Chickasaw Nation and a couple other nations. Still haven't heard anything. But again, and we posted this on our Facebook just so that everyone could see. And the team that we had cabinet members, some legislative, some council members on there to see what was the best way. I did review it again, and last Friday I did call one of the cabinet members and social services acting director, come in and review it again. And the one that's 150, we're going to move that up to 500 per person in the household.
So people on unemployment get more than people who are working, on top of their 600 extra a week.
Well, the one that didn't, they lost their jobs. You know, they can apply for that, which will be $1,500. And just trying to be fair with everyone.
Well, we will be audited at the end of the year.
We can be expected to be audited.
So we have to show where the money went.
We have a lobbyist and ambassador in D.C. that are watching this daily, asking questions, even with the other attorneys up there. And they feel that we are going to get audited. So actually, they last week they said they are getting a cabinet together to start reviewing all this once they start getting the information in. Knowing the government, we will get audited. So it's just paper trail you have to fill out.
What about that second distribution? What did you say might happen with that?
again, we had to decrease a lot of the other programs we had into health. I did talk to Mr. Terry. There's some areas that we did delete to increase this to where each family member would get 500 based on if it's related to the COVID. If you was related to the COVID incident, you're allowed to apply that.
We're all related to COVID. We're all COVID infected.
Pick and choose who was affected or related to the COVID.
We've all, the whole world shut down.
Has been affected by it.
We're all affected.
Yes, I agree. I was affected by, just buying groceries.
Yes,
But-
exactly. Yeah. What about us?
I know. I understand. That's why we had to. We just felt like I even talked to Second Chief. The 150, we had to do something. So we raised it up to 500. So if you're a parent with four kids, what is that? 250?
2,000 or 2,500.
2,500.
I don't
They
either.
have my rent. They have my groceries.
Let's not let them cut it short.
I have one kidney and a hernia. Do I get it? I don't have a paper trail for that. I haven't worked. I've been in bed for 2 years. I lost my kidney and everything. And do I get to apply for that? I don't have a paper trail to prove that I got affected somehow, but I have. Everybody has. Everybody don't have a paper trail to prove to you how you got affected. Everybody has.
Nobody kept their grocery receipts.
They should have to prove.
That's once you apply. There's just a checkbox you got to apply. That's it. Once you check mark that, that's it.
The recent demonstration here at the tribal complex. Heard the chief there responding to some of the questions and concerns of Muskogee citizens who had assembled. Okay, well, one of the questions that was brought up was, of course, the application process. Some people objected to having a process in itself. Others were more interested in how do we get this process started. First of all, on the release from the chief's office, it says that applications can be requested to be mailed by contacting 918-549-2440 or email covidsupport@mcn-nsn.gov or request at mcn-nsn.gov. Now, we will repeat that number for you later, but their fact sheet says quick tips for completing online coronavirus assistance application. So you will have to go through this process, and here's what they'll require. That you have copies of supporting documents such as MCN Citizens Card ready to upload in one of these formats for all MCN citizens in household, and that's .docx, .docx.pdf, or .tiff. You will have to have copies of recent pay stubs on hand to complete the income section. Now, if you receive SNAP, TANF, commodities, or any other assistance from a federally funded program, you should have those documents on hand. To report zero income, have verification from Employment Security Commission, that's unemployment, on hand. If you are not able to upload documents in the required format above, continue to submit application online and email supporting documents. That's covidsupport@mcn-nsn.gov. Applications can be printed and completed manually and mailed with copies of supporting documents to Muskogee Creek Nation Social Services, P.O. Box 580, Okmulgee, Oklahoma, 74447. And as we said before, applications can be requested to be mailed by contacting 918-549-2440. So that's the process. Some of the things you can expect when you get an application is that you will be asked to apply for the household. You will check these boxes, all that do apply to your situation. And the questions they ask you and then you should respond to is, I have experienced a job loss or a reduction in income due to the coronavirus pandemic. I receive my primarily monthly income from the Social Security Administration. I receive Veterans Administration disability. I meet the income guidelines listed in the tables below, and that's on page 2 of this document. I receive assistance from a federally funded program, SNAP, TANF, Commodities, WIC, etc. The application requires your citizen information as head of the household. Application, full name, sex, marital status, date of birth, Social Security, MCN roll number. Have you or another MCN citizen in your household received coronavirus aid from another tribe or federal town or tribal town? Yes or no? If yes, which tribe or tribal town? Now, contact information they'll ask for a phone number, an alternate message number, an email address, a mailing address, the city, state, zip code, physical address, and that is no post office box, and of course the city, the state, and the zip code. Now, they will also ask for household composition, not including the head of household. That's the name, relation, Social Security number, date of birth, tribe, and roll number. Now, all of that is going to be required. And one of the things we heard emphasized is your request has to be related to a COVID-19 coronavirus situation that has affected you. And that will be the priorities. Now, if you send in a request looking for help that's not related, my guess is it may not be something that they can use, and you can fill out, be assisted through this program. But don't take my word for final. You want to give the Human Services Department at the Department of Community and Human Services. That's 918-549-2440. Or again, COVID support at mcn-nsn.gov. Some other information we want to pass on, of course, is COVID coverage for members. The Health Department is closely monitoring activity around the coronavirus. They're committed to helping staff, members, communities stay informed. Currently, if you're a Blue Cross Blue Shield Oklahoma member, you won't pay co-pays, deductibles, or co-insurance for testing to diagnose COVID-19 or for COVID-related visits with the in-network providers, whether at a provider's office, urgent care clinic, emergency room, or by telehealth. A doctor does not have to ask us for the okay to test you for COVID-19. And temporarily, the restrictions at the pharmacy on getting early prescription notes, you can contact your pharmacy directly for an early refill. All right, now that policy has been in effect since March 23rd, and will begin automatic refills of some prescriptions. But you probably want to give them a call and find out what you can directly. Now, patients are urged to contact the pharmacy at 855-771-4321, or the number and label on your prescription bottle should make a connection for you. Okay, the Mvskoke Creek Nation Department of Health has established the COVID-19 information line to discuss questions and concerns. You can call 918-758-3550 Monday through Friday, 8 through 5 p.m. That's going to do it for us here on Mvskoke Radio this week. Thank you for listening. We hope you got some good information, and call those numbers if you need help. Mado Mabuhejitska. You've been listening to Mvskoke Radio. Join us again next week for more local, tribal, and community news and updates. Mado.